Hey guys, so I was just the other day at one of my feng shui clients, and when I visited the premises, namely her apartment, and then I visualized it later on Google Earth, I was so amazed about the results. For some reason, even though I've been doing feng shui analyses for clients for years and years, this is something that I always find fascinating. It somehow amazes me just how accurate the stories that feng shui tells about people's lives living in a certain apartment, in a certain block, in a certain area are. So, without delving into theoretical stuff, I want to show you hands-on, of course, not giving details and names and stuff like that, but showing you hands-on on a practical example how the world is seen through the eyes of a feng shui consultant. And, maybe I mean, I've gotten tired of how many times I've done videos and talks on the myths of feng shui because there are so many people believing that feng shui has to do with plastic thingies like, plastic toys and plastic amulets and plastic statues and I don't know, cats that, do like that. And everybody sees such a cat and they're, oh yeah, feng shui, feng shui. That is just superstition. That is just superstition. It has nothing to do with what feng shui is. Literally, the name feng shui is wind and water. So it's all about the environment. It's all about nature. It's all about the energy coming from Mother Earth and the universe, and that is what creates the stories here. So let me do a share screen, and I'm just gonna show you this. Okay, so this is just some apartment block in Bucharest on a certain street. Now, if you look at it from this view, you're not going to see anything special unless you see it through the eyes of a feng shui practitioner. And this is what today's episode is going to be about, right? So let's take any person living in this particular block of flats, right? Now, if you see the environment is full of blocks of flats, and it's like 10,000 people, 100,000 people in this area, okay? And when you look at them from such an altitude, they're pretty much all the same, right? Well, of course, just like in real life, people in the crowd seem all the same, but every one of them has their own individual story. Well, guess what? The magic is feng shui allows us to zoom in on people's lives without knowing their identities, but just based on the environment, because that's what feng shui says. That's what feng shui evaluates. And this knowledge, what I'm going to show to you in the coming minutes, is based on thousands of years of experience, of accumulated knowledge. Of course, we didn't have blocks of flats and concrete and all that before, but before there were mountains and hills and water features and all that. And the principles stay the same. It's just the application is adapted. Right. So let's dive right in. So our focus is this block of flats, right? And the first thing that a feng shui practitioner looks at is the very outermost part of the environment. It's like this kind of zoom out, right? And the first thing that we would look at is, is there any natural landforms here? And by that, I mean water or mountains, right? And I need to zoom out quite a bit before this part of water comes up. So zooming back in, we can see that it's a very significant distance. So basically, we can safely say that there is no real vicinity of water or mountains here. That means what? That means that the support of the mountains missing, and we don't need, mountains as in the traditional sense. Even hills will do, but we don't have any hills here. So that means that support of personal growth, of character, of good relationships, of the support that one needs to feel good quality of life is fairly poor in this area. It's pretty flat, right? It means that it's more difficult for people to find emotional fulfillment, and it's more likely for people to be, less healthy. It doesn't mean that they will be sick. It just means that the environment is not directly supportive of health and healing. And is not supportive of relationships either. The absence of water means that the potential for money growth is also fairly limited, right? So the next part is, we're going to dive in and look at the immediate environment. And if we look at the immediate environment, sorry, we were here, right? If we look at this block of flats, we will need to establish some of the things, like, for example, what's the facing of the building? So clearly this is the facing of the building because this is a circulated road and this is the back. So imagine this block of flats just like a person, right? They are facing this way, and it's like the head of the person. The face is here. That's why it's called facing, right? And the back of the head is here. So we would want to have the sitting, which is the opposite side to the facing, with peace and quiet. And luckily we have that here on the face of it, right? And I'll get to what I mean in a minute. And towards the facing of the building, we want to have an area which is more active. And this main road does the trick. And then we go to evaluating the left side, called left embrace in Feng Shui. And then we look at the right embrace. So this building has both a right embrace, which is at pretty much the same level, and a left embrace. Okay, but what do we actually see? The left embrace is actually a bit taller, right? So it's a bit taller. Imagine a person which is about one head height above you, right, as in taller, sitting right next to you, as in direct contact with you. How would you feel? This is very interesting because this is a part of Feng Shui that you don't usually see, right? But how would you feel? Threatened is the word now. And this is, this is not as bad as it gets. It can get a lot worse. But it so happens that my case from the other day was in this block of flats. So this is why I'm showing you this. But there's another thing happening, right? So, but first and foremost, what does it mean if this is threatening? How does that translate into people's lives? Well, the left embrace is related to the masculine side in the household, whereas the right embrace is related to the feminine side. So the masculine side means that men in this family, whose family? Any people living in this block of flats, because it affects the whole block of flats. So basically any apartment in this block of flats. All of these people will have a tendency to feel that the men in the family are threatening. They might be threatening, or they might give the impression that they're threatening, or others might feel threatened by them without them being actually threatening, or a combination of all the above. But this is something to take into account. Whereas the women in the household have, some form of equal support. It would have been a lot worse had this block of flats not been here at all. But the right embrace is okay, right? It's, again, very glued here to the other building. They are separate buildings, which means the support is okay, but the left embrace is not okay. But guess what happens when we look at the back of the building? This is where it gets absolutely fascinating. And for me, it was an incredible surprise because I knew the story of the family And when I was looking to see what could possibly impact that. And let me show you, right? This is the look from the above. I'll zoom out a little bit more. Now, can you see this here is a line, right? Imagine these two, this side of this block of flats and this side of this block of flats, they are aligned, right? And it's like they create a kind of a slicer, a kind of a sharp edge that protrudes or directs its energy exactly in this part of the block of flats, right? So if you can divide the block of flats in the left side with the apartments on the left side and the right side, right? If you had to choose, you should choose the right side, right? Now, why is that? Because all the apartments on this left side, what they have in common is that they are getting what is called sha qi, which is this aggressive kind of cutting energy. And it is cutting because it's directed along this line of these two blocks. And it slashes into this part of the building, right? And if you zoom in even more, you can even zoom in to see who as in which of the inhabitants is going to be most affected, right? And the natural continuation of this line, right? This line, right? The extension of this is going to hit on these windows, right? So the rooms which have these windows are going to be getting the brunt of all this shachi. And this is going to affect the people who live, sleep, eat, work in those rooms, right? Now, how exactly are they going to be affected? What is going to be the flavor of that? We would need to look at the flying stars and the 8 palaces. So basically the internal energetic structure of the building in order to see exactly the flavor. But what I wanted to show you is I haven't talked about the individual apartments. I haven't talked about any of the superstitious stuff. I haven't talked about anything of the I don't know, remedies and stuff like that. By the way, you could ask me, how can you remedy this? Unfortunately, the only way to remedy this is to not use that room, because the external force coming from this side, right, this cutting edge, is simply too great. I mean, you look at this image and you see how big it is, how much of a zoom out we need to have to get the idea of that. And if you really zoom in, you see that the little windows here pale in size compared to this thing. So there's no real anything that you can do. Just not use the room, and ideally not have the apartment there. So this is, and I could go a lot deeper, but this is, this is supposed to be a short video, and I don't want to make it too long, but this is just supposed to show you how, someone can look at blocks of flats and not see anything but blocks of flats. But if you have the eyes of Feng Shui training, you can see a whole story there, a whole story. So I hope you got something out of this video. And let me know. This is one of the first videos that I do exemplifying this. So if you find this interesting, if you find this, attractive at all, and you'd like more of these kinds of videos, let me know in the comments, because I will know to make more. So I hope that you enjoyed this, and stay tuned. So we'll talk sometimes about acupuncture. We'll talk about the Feng Shui of places. We'll talk about Chinese astrology. There will be a lot of fascinating stuff coming up. I'll see you soon.